Good afternoon and welcome to our week 3 lecture. Let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda for today. Let's see, let me share that with you. Give me 1 second. Okay, so first off, so again, this is the week 3 lecture video. We're going to start off by reviewing quiz 1, so that includes topics 1 through 11 in the textbook. Also, we're going to review the week 2 discussion assignments as well as the library, basically how to search the library, because this will be related to our week 3 discussion assignment. So let's go ahead and start by going over the quiz. Okay. In addition to making many decisions about how to conduct research, which of these must a researcher also do when engaged in a research study? Okay, so in research, it's always very important to document certain decisions that you make along the way, right? So I believe it was last week or maybe even the week before, I covered the research process, right? So as you're moving through the research process, it's important for you to document everything that you did, okay? Because it will be important as you go to write your research paper later, or it may be important. Which type of research results are not reduced to numbers? So this is qualitative research. So really, there's two types of research. There's quantitative and qualitative research. So quantitative would be like if you've ever taken like a measure of self-esteem, or even really if you've taken any like quiz on social media, and then based on how you answer, it tells you like whatever, if you're high in self-esteem or whatever else the quiz is about. So that's quantitative research. Qualitative research is based on like words, if you will, instead of numbers. So a good example of qualitative research would be a case study. So let's say you're interested in studying someone with autism, right? And you would just sit there and you would document behaviors, actions, whatever. But this would be very descriptive in nature. It would be qualitative, right? Because it's based on words, and it could be called a case study. A unified explanation of observations is called theory. Okay, so what does this look like? Well, you have your hypotheses, right? So you came up with hypotheses over this last week, and then based on your hypotheses, you can run analyses and basically answer your hypotheses or confirm your hypotheses or reject them. Okay, and once you have a lot of these observations, so typically when we say observation, we mean data. So it could either be quantitative data, qualitative data, and again, all data is trying to answer hypotheses. So once you have all these observations, once you have all these data, qualitative and or quantitative data, a theory explains the data. Okay, it takes all the little data points and says, okay, here's what I think it is. I'll give you an example. So when I was in grad school, I focused on something called terror management theory, and there was a lot of data. But basically, what the data showed is that when people are faced with death, they tend to give more positive valuations of people who are like them, more negative evaluations of people who are unlike them, as compared to some sort of control group. And basically terror management theory explains those observations by saying, well, people favor their in-group more and reject their out-group more when faced with death, because people's identity, okay, acts as a shield or a protection from death thoughts. So that's just an example of a theory explaining various observations. The fundamental difference between experimental and non-experimental study designs is that experimental study designs use a manipulation or a treatment. Okay. And what's also important to remember here is the concept of random assignment. So if something's a true experiment if people are randomly assigned, for example, to one group or to another group. But this is just purely based on randomness. And the reasoning behind this is you want to make sure that people being assigned to one group or another group is purely based on chance, and literally people in that group don't have anything specific in common, or people in this group don't have anything in common. Rather, what they have in common is this group received the treatment and this group received the control. And that's the importance of random assignment when we're talking about experimentation. While experiments allow researchers to propose answers to causal questions, in some cases, experiments are not appropriate. The most common reasons are it would be unethical to conduct some types of experiments on people. Well, and so what does this mean, right? So smoking, right? So it's clear that smoking has health consequences, right? So basically, if you look at all the smoking research, they do correlational research, meaning they compare smokers to non-smokers. So that'd be correlational research. How can we turn that into an experiment, which would then be unethical? You would randomly assign some people to smoke and other people not to smoke, and then assess their outcomes. Well, why would that be unethical? It's because we already know that smoking can be harmful, right? So randomly assigning people to harm is obviously unethical, and that's why we would look at how smoking occurs naturally, meaning correlationally, and we would compare smokers to non-smokers. The type of research allows researchers to this type of research allows researchers to collect information about attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors of a population. Okay, that's a survey. Surveys are a great way to conduct research because they are super cheap, right? So personality and gay marriage attitudes, the study that we're using for this class, is a survey. As you can see, it would be easy to print out the survey and to hand it out to an auditorium full of 500 people and then collect the surveys, or create an online version of the survey and pass it around social media and have people fill it out. It'd be super easy. Experiments are harder, right? Because in an experiment, you have to control the manipulation, meaning you have to randomly assign some people to a treatment and some people to a control. Okay, so typically experiments have to be done in the laboratory to have that sort of control. An interview means you actually have to talk to people. Well, obviously that's going to be a lot more time consuming than a survey. And a case study is actually what I was talking about earlier, which is a descriptive study where essentially what you're trying to do is describe a phenomenon. So literally following my example of let's say a unique case of autism, as a researcher, you would sit there and you would just describe what's going on. And the whole point of a case study is to study something in depth with the hope of creating some understanding. So case studies take a long time. Surveys, cheap and easy. Qualitative researchers often approach their research planning with an exploratory approach, which uses inductive logic. Okay. Researchers who are primarily interested in a topic where little is known may find the best approach to be the use of qualitative methods. And so why would qualitative methods be important? Well, they could definitely inform quantitative methods. So for example, in our study, Personality and Gay Marriage Attitudes, we have the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale, okay? Well, that asks various questions related to self-esteem, and based on how people answer those questions, gives them a self-esteem score, okay? Well, but how did the researchers know to ask all those questions? Well, they knew to ask all those questions because they probably did some sort of qualitative research, where maybe they interviewed people and jotted down what they were talking about, or they had a focus group, or they did something where their data was words in order for them to come up with the questions of the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale. And that's really the importance of qualitative research. Qualitative research can be so much richer, I think you understand that, than quantitative research. Okay, just going back to the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale, what would be better to have someone's answer to the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale, or a 4-page essay they wrote about their self-esteem? And that's really the difference. The Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale being the quantitative measure, the qualitative measure being the essay. And I would argue I would want to have both. Why not? More data is better. Program evaluation is almost always used for practical decisions, which is a form of research called applied research. Yeah. So I work for the county, as I think I mentioned, and a lot of program evaluation is done, right? Because we want to make sure the services and treatments we're giving our clients, the programs we're giving our clients, are evidence-based. We want to make sure they're working. So this type of research in the applied setting is called applied research. In direct response to the unethical medical research conducted in Nazi concentration camps during World War II, the Nuremberg Code was formulated to define legitimate medical research. Yes. Okay. So that's really big, right? The Nazis were doing terrible things to human beings, things that we don't even want to think about. Okay. The Nuremberg Code basically says there are limits, okay, to what can be done. Okay. And furthermore, there's something called the Institutional Review Board. So I sit on an institutional review board, and basically what happens is people decide, hey, I want to conduct this research. Here's why it will benefit society. Here's what we're going to do. I can assure you it's not going to cause participants harm. Do you see what I mean? So that's the whole thing. The Nuremberg Code said do no harm, essentially. And now we have institutional review boards where professionals sit on, and we can make sure that harm is not being done as scientists are conducting research. So it's really important. What, if anything, is considered when managing potential harms to participants in a research plan? Harm should be minimized, but weighed against the potential benefits to society. Yeah, that's always what it is. It's called a cost-benefit analysis. What's the potential cost to the participants, and then compared to the benefit it's going to give to society. Okay, cool. So that's the quiz. If you have any questions, feel free to email me through Canvas is a great way, or come to my office hours Wednesdays and Thursdays from 4:30 to 6 p.m. and I'll send you the link every week, but it's also included right here. If you just go to home, Zoom link for office hours. You click there, it'll connect you. Okay, so let's go back and see what's on our agenda. Okay, week 2 discussion, and then we'll get into how to do the library search. Okay, so let's just make sure we're connecting everything. Probably pin that. There you go. Okay, week 2 discussion. The week 1 discussion assignment prompted you to do the following. As discussed in the lecture video, jot down at least 3 variables from personality and gay marriage attitudes that you're interested in studying. Also, please explain why you're interested in these variables, right? So that's what you did week 1. You said, you know what? I'm going to wade through the survey and wow, okay. I find these things, these 3 variables or these 3 concepts interesting. Okay, so that's all you did week 1. And then week 2 is based on the variables that you identified in the week 1 discussion assignment, or you could have chosen new variables. Create at least 3 hypotheses. Also, please explain why you made the predictions that you made. So examples of hypotheses were females tend to be more liberals than males, males tend to be more conservative than females, females tend to be Democrats more than males, males tend to be Republicans more than females, females tend to be lower and authoritarian relative to males. Okay, so those are just some hypotheses. And I also provided a attached document with a plethora of potential hypotheses that students came up with after reviewing personality and gay marriage attitudes. Okay, so that was week 2. Okay, so so week 1, you're like, okay, I think these variables are interesting. Week 2, you came up with some hypotheses. Great. So week 3, what you're going to do is you're going to find 3 research articles. Okay. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like. I'll go ahead and pin this one too. Okay, this one's simple. Find and link 3 articles related to one or more of your hypotheses or research questions, which you did in the week 2 discussion, and describe how they're related to your hypotheses or research questions. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back to week 3. Lecture video, and then the agenda inside of that folder. Let's take a look at it. There it goes. Okay, so step 1, you have to go to this website, library.valleycollege.edu/databases. Okay, so click on that, and it's going to open. Okay. Now what you have to do is you have to click on database passwords. I think everyone's is the same, but it'll take you back to Canvas, and it will show you. Here you go. So we're using EBSCO. So it's saying the user ID is Valley 2020. Oh, so where do we plug this in? We need to go down to, okay, databases by subjects. So we are in behavioral science. So psychology and behavioral sciences collection. Go ahead and click on that. And here you go. So that's where you put Valley 2020. Now go back and get the password. The password is pound SBVC 2022. There you go. It should log us in. Perfect. So here we are. We're searching psychology and behavioral sciences collection. Now go ahead and click on advanced search. You could use the other one, but I like advanced search. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give the example of, let's say your hypothesis had to do with self-esteem and gender. So maybe you said something like, it is hypothesized that females tend to have higher self-esteem than males. Males tend to have lower self-esteem than females. Okay, something like that. Okay. And search title. You could search like body. I like title because it's kind of quick. So basically it's saying self-esteem and gender have to appear in the title. So there's a bunch of articles that you could pick from. Yeah, let's do this one. This is the one I found earlier. So you can click on it, but really what you're looking for is PDF full text. That's really helpful. Let's see if we can zoom in here a little bit. And you could usually tell by just looking at the title and the abstract if it's going to work for you. Okay. So it says results showed that well-being was correlated positively with self-esteem and body self-esteem, and body esteem was correlated negatively with gender. Okay. So it seems like it's talking about gender and, sorry, let me zoom out, gender and self-esteem here. But even more so, if you look at the results section, you'll see here, so I don't know if you all remember stats, self-esteem scale, females had a mean of 2.03, males had a mean of 2.09. Okay. The T was 1.05, and it looks like it was not significant. Okay. The only significant difference was body esteem. It seemed that male had a higher body esteem than female. And you know it's significant because there's your T value and it tells you your P value is less than 0.1. So in this case, you could use body esteem and self-esteem. I think that's cool. There you go. So that's an interesting finding. Okay. And you could read through the article and see if it's related to your hypotheses, but essentially what you're looking for, and we're going to call this an empirical article, is you need to make sure that it has a method section. You see how it is method? So remember the method, they're telling you how they conducted their research, and it has to have a results section. The results section are the statistical analyses that are assessing the hypotheses. Okay, so let's say you're doing gender and self-esteem. What you would write here is you would link this article, and you would say the reason why I picked this article is, or you could note your hypothesis. Here's my hypothesis relating gender and self-esteem. This article works because it talks about self-esteem and gender as well as body esteem and gender. And that's all you would have to do. You would have to find 3 of these articles. So let me show you, because it could be a little tricky to actually do these posts. Let me show you what that's going to look like. Okay. Cool. So let's go back to this discussion board. week 3 discussion. And I'll go ahead and do a test post so you all can see. Okay. Oh, is it going to let me type? Oh, it's all the way down here. Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to write let's call it post example. Let's see. Hypothesis 1. Females tend to have higher self-esteem than males. Males tend to have lower than females. So let's say that's my hypothesis. And then what I could do here is insert link, external links. You see that? Yeah, so insert link, external links. Actually, I'm not sure if you could see that. Give me 1 second. Let me just share differently. There you go. So insert link, external links. Oops. And then you would go to the article. So where's the article? Right here. So you'd copy the URL. Oops. There it is. Write something like article 1. And then when you press done, article 1 would sit here like this. Maybe you could add like a bullet point. Okay. And you can write here this article say this article examines the relationship between gender and self-esteem, as well as gender and body esteem. Okay. So what I would recommend is try to find one article per hypothesis. I think that would be good. So try to do that. But yeah, that's the example, and I'll post it here. And there it is. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at this. Okay, so what do we have due this week? So we're in week 3. So you have your week 3 discussion that we just talked about, and then you have your SPSS lecture 2. So again, for the SPSS notes, all you're going to do is click on this. You can either watch the video or just look at the lecture notes. And I want you to take notes on the interpretation. So literally, you're just writing the interpretations. You can do it by hand or type it, okay? And then upload your lecture notes right there. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda just to make sure we've covered everything. Yes, it looks like we have. Perfect. So so go ahead and here, let me stop sharing. Go ahead and email me if you have any questions. I'm always happy to answer your emails, and or come to office hours Wednesdays and or Thursdays from 4:30 to 6 p.m. All right. Enjoy your week. I hope you have a great one. Take care. Bye.